So this week, the Parshat is Parshat Emor. Now in Parshat Emor, it starts off talking about the Kohanim, and it talks about who could be a Kohen, meaning in what way could they do the Avodah, in what way could they do the services, how they do the services. It talks about a Kohen Gadol slightly. It talks about the holidays. It talks about all these things. Now the question that comes to mind, it's brought down, the brings down from the Hagdama to the Mishnayot of Seder Kachim, that there are actually 23 different things that a Kohen needs to have in order for him to be able to do the services in the Beit HaMikdash. Now there's simple ones, including that he should not be a Zar, he should not be Israel. He has to be from the Kohanim, he has to be from the families of the Kohanim. Also, he's not allowed to have a mum. He has to wear the special garments of the Kohen. It has to be the right length, right? He can't wear clothing that's too small. He can't wear clothing that is too large. He has to go ahead and wear everything exactly right. And there's all these different laws. There's 23 different characteristics that the Kohen needs to have. One of these characteristics that are brought down in this week's Parshat is that he's not allowed to have a mum. He's not allowed to have any deformities. He can't have any blemishes in himself. Like the Pasuk says, "Vayidaber Hashem Moshe le'emor." Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu saying, "Daber al Aaron le'emor ish mizaracha le'doratam asher bo mum lo yikrav la'akriv lechem elokav." If the Kohen has a mum, he has a blemish, he cannot do the services. He cannot do the avodah in the Mishkan or in the Beit HaMikdash. So Rabbi Yisrael Belsky asked a simple question. What's wrong with having a mum? What's wrong if he has a deficiency in his body? What's wrong? So he's missing a finger. So he has a problem with his eye. Why can't he do the avodah? Why can't he do the services in the Beit HaMikdash? What's wrong with it? So he said, if you look at Rashi explains as follows. It shouldn't bring a korban. Why? What does that mean? What is that pasuk? That's a pasuk that is in Malachi. What's it saying over there? When the Jewish people brought korbanot to God, they brought different korbanot, and the korbanot have blemishes. Right? You're not allowed to bring a korban or offering to God also that has a blemish on it. And Malachi came and rebuked the Jewish people. Now, how did he rebuke them? How did he criticize them? If he would have just said, why are you bringing animals that have a blemish on it? The Jews would have said, give me a break. At least I'm bringing an animal. At least I'm bringing a korban. Not everybody brings a korban. I'm bringing it. Be happy with what I'm bringing. So what did Malachi use to criticize? He said as follows. He says, bring it. Pray tell to your noblemen. Would this be a korban that you bring to the president? Would this be something that you'd bring to the Nasi? Would this be a korban that you'd bring to the general? This wouldn't be something that would be fit for anybody else. So don't treat God any less than you would treat a nobleman. Don't treat God any less than you treat somebody that you honor and that you respect. And we have to realize that's the same thing with the Kohen. We have a Kohen, we have a Kohen Gadol, we have a king, we have Rabbanim. All these people, there are different laws in their dress and how they have to look. We have this thing at the end of the Tefillah and Yom Kippur, we have a piyut called Marei Kohen. In what it means to have been able to see what it looks like, the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol after the services. There's a certain seeing, a certain sight, a certain way you have to look, which went ahead and gave a person a certain reverence and a certain awe. And a king, a Jewish king, had to have a haircut every single day. Had a haircut. Every day. And we brought that in Gemara Meshechet Shabbat, Tav Kuf Yudalad, it says if a Talmid Chacham has a stain on his clothing, he's putting his soul at risk. It's somebody who desires death, is what the Gemara says. Because impressions count. The way a person looks counts. Obviously, if a person just looks pious and looks good, that doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean you have to go overboard, right? The Rambam brings down He says, how should a person dress? He shouldn't dress overly exotically fancy, nor should he dress like a poor beggar in the street. A middle road, a normal road, put together, nice, looking good. Because impressions count. And not just that impressions count, first impressions count. First impressions make a big difference. People think sometimes it doesn't. It does. That first time you see somebody, that first time you meet somebody, you can go ahead and have a view of that person for the rest of your life. And nothing they do could change it even. A lot of times. And the Gemara recounts a story. The Gemara Masechet Tainit. It brings down a story where Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania, one of the big sages in Rome, the daughter of the Caesar, said, why is it that such knowledge, such great Torah is all in one unsightly person, right? Didn't really mean it in such a nice way. So the Gemara says he told her, go take wine. He says, what do you have your wine in? She says, earthenware jugs. So take the wine from the earthenware jugs and put it in gold and silver jugs. Why should a Caesar have his wine in earthenware? He should have it in gold and silver. So she put it in gold and silver. What happened to it? It spoiled. It went off. And she said, who decided to do that? She said, the rabbi told me to do it. He said, why did he do it? She said, because she wanted to know why Torah isn't such an unsightly human being like me. So sometimes, like wine goes off if you put it in gold and silver. It only stays well in earthenware. Right? He was trying to explain to her that it's not necessarily the sight that you see that's what the actual person is. What you do see from there, that first impression makes a big difference. Makes a massive difference. Now, not just of people, but also of the Beit HaMikdash itself. It says, somebody did not see the Beit HaMikdash that Hordus built, and didn't see a more beautiful building in his entire life. What did Hordus' Beit HaMikdash look like? So the main sanctuary, the main building, was made out of gold, not gold, it was made out of blue, green, and white tiles. Marble, yeah? It looked like the waves of the sea, the Galei Hayam. Now, Hordus wanted to cover it all with gold. Right? Gold's the most expensive. It's the most gold. And the rabbi said, no. Looks nicer this way. Hold on a minute. Next time you go to do renovations in your house, you generally don't go to the rabbi and ask him, do you think this wood looks together with this wood? Do you think that this couch looks right over here? Generally, people don't go to the rabbi for advice in their inside the planning, their space planning, what the inside of the house should look like. Yet the rabbis are telling me, no, it looks better like this. Why? Because that first impression you do when you saw that Beit HaMikdash, that first impression made a lasting impression upon the person. But it has to be an impression which you see God. The same way we compare Shabbat to the fear of the Beit HaMikdash. Shabbat is all for God, right? We see the awesomeness, because man is very much impressionable. And that's why the Kohen Gadol and all the Kohanim that represent the Jewish people, when the Kohen brings the Korban, he's representing the Jews, he got to look right. He has to be that full impression of what it means to be the tip-top of what it is, to be that person to bring the offering to God. And that's why he cannot have a mum. He cannot have a blemish. Now, just about every single person in life has people that they look up to. Everybody has their role model. Everybody has their idol. Everybody has that person that they view is the person they look up to and keep on the highest regard and the highest esteem. Everybody. Very few people don't, but most people do. And everybody needs that. You need those goals, those aspirations, which you see in somebody else for you to want to attain that. But the question is, who is that person that's your role model? Who is that person that you look up to? The Torah is saying it's supposed to be the Kohen. It's supposed to be the tzaddik. It's supposed to be that person that you go ahead, I want to be like him. I want to be like Chacham Avadi Yosef Zatzal. I want to be like this rabbi. I want to be like him. I want to be somebody to look up to idealize. But sadly, there are people which their idols don't conform to the way of Torah. For example, the Torah says, "V'lo tichanim." You're not allowed to leave Gentiles in the land of Israel. When we went over and we took over the land of Eretz Israel, we were not allowed to leave Gentiles living in the land. We did. We messed up, but we weren't supposed to. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah brings down, from this word, "V'lo tichanim," we also learn, "Lo titen lehem chen." You're not supposed to admire the non-Jew. That it's forbidden, the Gemara says, to admire a handsome or talented Gentile. Now, that doesn't mean that Gentile, that the non-Jew doesn't have things to admire. Of course they do. There are plenty of things that are admirable. But they're not supposed to be a role model. And how many people they wear the jersey with the big word Jeter or whatever it is on them, right? And they're showing them that that's their role model. They're showing the world that's their role model. Who walks around with a shirt that says on it, Yosef? Who has a shirt that says on it in big words, Kanievsky? Nobody. People don't walk around with big shirts on it saying, showing the world that I idolize this tzaddik or that tzaddik. Yet people have no problem walking around idolizing non-Jews. And that's asur. You're a person to idol, one person supposed to look up to is a Jew. And what kind of Jew? The Jew that attaches you to the Torah. The Jew that you see, I want to be like him, I want to grow like him. I have jealousy of that guy for he keeps those mitzvot, I want to be like him. And that's what a person has to realize. It's not the Jeff Bezoses of the world. It's not the Jeters of the world. It's not the movie stars of the world that a person should idolize. All those people, God gave them the money that they have. And most of them are depressed anyway. They're on all different kinds of things just to keep themselves happy. A person doesn't want such an empty, shallow life. A life of meaning. A Jewish life. A Torah life is what you're supposed to want to covet and you're supposed to want to be like. And that's the people you're supposed to look up to. But we also have to realize every single one of us, every single Jew and every single person is a role model to other people also. Every person leaves an impression on others in his life. Everybody. Whether it's your spouse, whether it's your kids, whether it's your neighbors, whether it's your brother. There's somebody that you're leaving an impression on. And the story that the Krat Shabbat Marketah brings down, Rav Fuchs-Shlita, he brings down a story that the Chafetz Chaim used to not want people to go to America at that time. Yechidim, he let go to America. What was the reason for that? Because if you came to America in those days, there was no law that you worked from Monday to Friday. The law was that you worked Shabbat as well. And if you didn't work on Shabbat, they had all rights and grounds to fire you. And for many Jews, this was a test that they couldn't overcome. They tried. They would go to work. Came Shabbat. The first couple of jobs they had, they didn't work on Shabbat. After a while, there was no food on the table, nothing to eat. They started working. They started working on Shabbat. It was a very, very hard time. So the story goes as follows. He was a very wealthy Jew, owned a massive factory, owned a lot. And he's driving his car in the streets of New York. And he notices a group what look like black kids with kippot and tzitzit. And nowadays you see it more around, especially when the Ethiopians, they came to Israel and all that. But back then in New York, to see a black Jew, he gets out of his car, walks over to them, and as he walks up, he realizes they're not really black. They're really white kids. But because they were so poor, their face and clothes were covered in the soot. It was covered in the ash. It was covered in all the black stuff that come out of the back of cars. They were completely covered in dirt. And his heart just ripped open. Hazit. Look at these people. They really have nothing. And the youth are so poor. He says, show me, where do you live? And the kid said, come, let's show you, sure. And they brought him into one of these tenement buildings, a tiny little apartment somewhere stuck in some corner. And he comes in there and the kids come really happy saying, Abba, Ima, we have guests. And the parents come out and they bring a chair that might have looked good 100 years earlier. to give him to sit, and he looks at them and he says, "Why do you guys live like this?" And the father answers back simply. He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Why don't you live in a nicer apartment? Give your kids a nicer place to live." So the father says, "What do you mean? I go to work every single week. I work from Monday to Friday. I get fired on Shabbat because I don't show up. And I get a new job every single week. And I thank God every single day the fact that I have this home, that I have somewhere for my kids to live. I'm so happy that I have at least this." This Jewish owner of the factory says, No. You're not going to live like this. He says, "I own a factory. We're open 7 days a week. But I'll pay you right now $3,000, which would be enough to have a nice apartment somewhere for the entire year. And you only have to work in my factory 6 days. You do not have to work on Shabbat." Before the guy took the money, the guy asked him, "Hold on a minute. This money, the money that you're giving me, the money that you get from your business, does it include the money from Shabbat? Meaning, my salary, is that going to come from money that you make on Shabbat?" And the owner got all irritated. And he's like, "What are you asking me for? I'm telling you just to work 6 days a week. Why are you asking me about Shabbat? I'm telling you don't have to work on Shabbat. What's your business if I make money from Shabbat?" So the guy said, "You don't understand. I give up so much. In order, I want to keep Shabbat in its fullest. I don't want to take any benefit from things that were done on Shabbat. It's not worth it to me. I'd rather keep Shabbat." The guy got irritated, storms out, gets into his car and drives home. Gets home. His wife could tell he's irritated. He tells his wife, "You know, I crazy people." He tells her the whole story. He said, "I came into that house with a dilapidated little hole in the wall, and I offered them so much, and I told him he didn't have to work on Shabbat. And he said no anyway, and he's crazy human beings." He started screaming. And when he looks up, he notices his wife's crying. Tears are running down her face. She says, "Why are you crying?" She says, "You don't remember?" She says, "That was us. And we didn't withstand the test that they are withstanding." She says, "You don't remember when we came to America, we said we're going to keep every single Shabbat, and you got jobs, and you got fired, and you got another job, and you got fired, until your uncle offered you a job in a business that he had. And he said that on Shabbat, you don't have to work, you just have to sit there. And the first couple of weeks, you just sat there, and you didn't work on Shabbat, but then little things started happening, and you started working, until eventually we didn't keep anything." She said, "I am jealous of those people." Yeah? Slowly, he became back religious fully. They moved to Israel, and right now their great-grandchildren are sitting and learning Torah in Israel. A person has no clue who he's a role model for. You think that person living in that tiny little hole in the wall ever thought he'd be a role model for anybody? Did he think he ever thought that anybody would look at him and says, "I want to be like him"? But every single one of us is people that look at us. Every single one of us who take from us. And that's why when they asked Moshe Feinstein, they asked him, how come some people, their kids grow up keeping Shabbat and they keep everything, and some people will grow up in the same kind of home and they go straight off the derech, they go off the right path. And Moshe said, it's very simple. How do you do mitzvot? Is it when it came Shabbat and the guy lost his job, did he say, it's so hard to be a Jew. So hard, I lost this, I lost that, I'm giving up so much to be a Jew. That guy's kids sees their pops is suffering, and here's the father complaining every minute about being a Jew. You really think they're going to want to be Jewish? You really think they're going to want to go in the same way as their father? But if you have the same guy who's suffering, but he's so happy that he has a Shabbat. He says, my whole week, everything out of my mind, Shabbat, beautiful, everything out of my mind. That guy's kids are going to want to keep Shabbat. And that's what the Kerem Matzri bring down in the beginning of our Parshat. All the way in the beginning. The first pasuk. It says, emor ala Aaron, yeah? Tell Aaron. Moshe, emor l'kohanim, b'nei Aaron. V'amarte them l'nefesh lo yitame ba'amav. Says Rashi over here. Lahazir gedolim ala ketanim, to warn the older people for the younger people. Meaning it's on the elders to teach the younger. What does that mean? Says the Kerem Matzri, we mentioned in Pirkei Avot, Akavi b'mahal lomer, da me'ayin bat, ul'ana to'olech, ul'mi ata atid litin v'cheshbon. Know from where you're coming, from whence are you coming, from where are you going, and to who you're going to wind up giving judgment in the end of days. He says, he goes very good with this. Why? Where did you come from? You came from a long chain. Abraham Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the Shevet you came from, his son, all the way to you. You are in a link in a long, long chain. A very long chain. Do you want to break that chain? Where are you going? What does that mean? The future, your children. You want to make sure that you're going to put everybody else, your kids, on the right path. And like the Duvna Magid brings down, there was one time a guy, he was traveling at night on the wagon, and then he realized that he veered off the path. And he gets up in the morning and he's crying, and they asked him, why are you crying? And he said, because I went off the path. You know how many people probably followed me? Because of the tracks of my wagon. What is that referring to? That's referring to Klal Yisrael as a whole. All the Jews are one. Kol Yisrael Arenzel. They're all one unity. We're all one entity. As the Nefesh HaChaim and the Shai Kedusha from Chaim Vital, they both write that Tzelem Elokim. Nefesh HaChaim says we're Tzelem Elokim. What does that mean, the Tzelem Elokim? We are a demut of God. The same way God created everything in this world, and every single second the world is being recreated by God. Every single second, it's being run off of Him. So to us, because our soul is so holy, our soul, our neshama, comes from Kisei HaKavod, Tachat Kisei HaKavod, higher than from the place where the Malachim come from. And Nefesh HaChaim actually explains that everything is a clothing of the thing holier than that, which means we're basically like a nucleus of the world in a way. And based upon what we do, either builds up the world or destroys the world. Like the Kerem Tzvi brings down a story. He says, imagine you're on a boat. And you also hear banging in one of the cabins, on one of the low decks. And you come in there and you see a guy sitting there with a pick and an axe, and he's banging against the wall, trying to break open the wall of the boat. And he's screaming at him, what are you doing? And he looks at it and he says, listen, sir, I paid for this room. It's my room. I could do whatever I want in this room. What are you going to tell him? Crazy man. You make a hole in the wall of this part of the boat, the whole thing is going to sink. You're going to take everybody down with you. So too, all the Jews were all one unity. We have to realize it's not just me, I can do whatever I want. I am part of a klal. I am part of Klal Yisrael. We're all one. And whatever I do affects everybody else. And that's why that link in a chain that I got from Avraham Avinu, I'm going to have to make sure to continue it on. I'm going to have to make sure to be that good role model for anybody who sees me. So that they go ahead and they get something good out of me. And you should know, if somebody sees something in you and it fixes them in some way, shape, or form, you get reward for all of that, and for the kids and for the grandchildren, for everybody. Now, it also brings down, you have to understand what one of the ways to be a good role model is. One of the ways to be a tzelem elokim is. Brought down, we talked about a Kohen Gadol as well. Now, a Kohen Gadol has 5 things, as the brings down, has 5 things that he has to be greater than a Kohen. There are 5 things. Including in that, has to be Oshay, has to be rich, and that's why it said when they would pick a Kohen Gadol, who was not rich, but because he had all the other traits, all the Kohanim would give him money, this way he became rich. He's supposed to be older, but he also, it says he's supposed to be a Gibor. He's supposed to have koach, a Gibor. He's supposed to be strong. Why? Why should a Kohen be strong? For what reason? A regular Kohen doesn't have to be Gibor, but a Kohen Gadol has to be Gibor. Why? Since when do we Jews put any faith in physical strength? That was the Greek way. The Greek way was the epitome of man, his strength, his character. We Jews, we don't go by a person's physical strength. So why does it say Gibor? Now the Rambam wishes to say that when he brings down, when he talks about a Navi, he says, the Rambam brings down that Gibor is referring to the midot of a person. He's strong in good character traits. But they're all asking him, the Kesef Mishnah, the Lechem Mishnah, everybody asks him, what do you mean? It's brought down by the Kohen Gadol, he's supposed to be strong like Aaron HaKohen. And it brings down, where was Aaron HaKohen strong? That he lifted all the Kohanim. He lifted them all. 22,000 he lifted in one day. That's strength. And Moshe Rabbeinu lifted up the Mishkan. That's strength. So we learned that it is a physical strength. So why in the world does the Kohen Gadol have to be physically strong? That question, Chaim Shmulevitz Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh V'Racha, in Sichot Musar brings down. And listen to his answer. He brings down that Shlomo HaMelech in Mishlei says that I went to the fields of the lazy man and the vineyards of the man who was missing heart. And I saw how everything was going on over there. I saw everything was overgrown. And I put that on my heart. And I took musar from this. What does that mean? So, Chaim Shmulevitz has a view as follows. Knowing things in your mind alone is not always enough. Knowing things in the mind not alone, sometimes you know things, doesn't always affect you. Therefore, besides knowing it, you have to put it in your heart, you have to feel it. Therefore, Shlomo HaMelech said that he didn't just want to hear about the field of the lazy man and what winds up happening to the field. He needed to go see it for himself. He took musar. This way he's not going to be lazy. Now, we had a similar concept by Rav Gifter Zatzal brings down from the Telza that he asked, how come by the Seder night, right? Tonight's Pesach sheini, yeah? How come by the Seder night, why don't we put on a play? Why are we reading Haggadah? Put on a play, yeah, watch the movie, The Ten Commandments. You see everything going on. Everything good. We're all good. And the answer he brought down is because just seeing a movie, just seeing a play, doesn't affect your heart. A person can watch one movie, another movie, people binge watch, yeah? They can watch 1,000,001 episodes. You think they remember the first episode by the time they reach the last episode? You think that first episode had any effect on the heart? None at all. Therefore, if you read the Haggadah and you construct this whole vision in your eyes, it can have an effect on you. Says Chaim Shmulevitz, seeing also can have an effect on you. But you have to take it. Just hearing also is not enough. You have to hear, you have to see, you have to visualize, and you have to put it on your heart. And what is that? Not to be lazy. You have to understand, the lazy person always has excuses. Always has excuses. Always. Says the Ramban, he's not from the Ramban, that no matter what excuses you bring down, all those excuses are really the Yetzer Hara talking. They're really the Yetzer Hara talking. He says, where do we see that? We see by the Mishkan. That when they built it all, they got the person to work the gold and the people to work to sew everything and all these things. He said, how do all the Jews know so many different things to do? He says, a lot of them were not skilled in this field. But when they made a call out that they're looking for people to do certain jobs, people showed up. And when they decided they're going to do, they did. Because anybody puts their mind to anything, there's nothing that you cannot learn. There's nothing that you really cannot do. Whether you be successful or not, that's up to God. And if you're doing what's right, you'll always be successful. And then you have the lazy man. Sometimes he says, I'm happy with what I have. He's so lazy to get up and do, I'm happy, I don't need it. That's also, it's only his laziness talking. He's really not happy with it. And a person has to realize the Mesilat Yesharim brings down that the laziness doesn't go all at once. It's a slow progression. A little bit, and he doesn't realize it, he doesn't feel it. He doesn't feel it at all. Until all of a sudden it's completely controlling the human being. And he always pushes off tomorrow, I'll learn tomorrow. I'll learn a little now, a little bit tomorrow, a little bit next week. I have time. That's a lazy person talking. And we find even if you have beautiful cheshbonot, beautiful reasons why you can't do it. We find the Nisiim, when they made the Akamat HaMishkan, and everybody brought korbanot, everybody brought things. And the Nisiim didn't bring anything because they figured they had a cheshbon. Everybody will bring, there's not going to be enough, we'll give the rest. What wound up being is everybody brought everything. There was nothing left for them, and God had to go ahead and bring them the stones to have for the ephod and for the choshen for them to bring. And it said they wouldn't see him without a yud. Because don't make cheshbonot. Don't sit there making all the cheshbonot that you think like this and like this and like this and like this. The reason why I'm right. No, you're lazy. And you can't be lazy. You got to get up and you got to do. And like you brought that from the level, he brings it down here as well. The famous words of Shlomo Melech in Mishlei, where he said, go look at the ant, Atzel, the lazy man. See its ways and become wise. It doesn't say the fool should go. It says the lazy person should look. And what did we say that we learned from the ant? The ant only lives Shisha Chadashim, it only lives 6 months. And for all that it needs to live the entire 6 months is 1.5 great kernels of wheat. And yet it goes ahead in the summer and it collects and it collects and it collects and it collects and it collects. Tons. And the Rav Shimon Bar Yochai brings down to the story once they found 300 core of kernels. Why? First of all, why does the ant do that? Because he has a emunah in God. He has such faith in God, he hopes that maybe God will let him live another day. Even that, he still doesn't need so many kernels. But he's such a emunah in God that God, maybe he'll live another day. He collects more and more and more. But everything in this world, we're supposed to learn from. Your traits and everything that we're supposed to learn from. And we're supposed Why? It means getting up early in the morning. They have to go ahead and they have to drink all the shakes and all different things that these bodybuilders drink, all these protein things, and then they got to work out and they have different workouts for the triceps and the biceps and this steps and all these other steps, and they're working everything out in the push-ups and the chin-ups a day in, day out, and if they miss days, they're missing in the workout routine. And if they miss weeks and months, they wind up getting all flabby. So in order for a person to be a gibor, to be physically strong, takes a lot of work. That's why when it says that Kohen Gadol should be a gibor, and it means physical gibor, doesn't actually necessarily mean that he has to be physically strong. What it means is the guy can't be lazy. He's got to do right away. Don't push off. And that's what from Aaron Kohen. He picked up 22,000 Kohanim in one day. You think that's possible? No. He did it, and God did it for him. God made a miracle that he was able to do it. But if you do right away, God does the rest. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he picked up the Mishkan, you think he was strong enough to pick up the Mishkan? No, he did his bit, God did the rest. As long as you do right away. As long as you don't push it off, you're not lazy. If you're lazy, say, I'll do it tomorrow. God says, okay, I'll do it tomorrow also. I'll do it in 3 days. I'll do it in 4 days. You do right away. And that's one of the things as we're talking about, that every human being has to be a role model for everybody around them, is you can't be a lazy person. You have to jump on everything right away. And the story which Rav Ibn Kashin Zatzal brings down, it's a story that happened in Monsey. There was a fellow who came, I believe he came from Israel to America, and he wanted to take him on it. He wanted to take a taxi. And went to the taxi, and the guy wanted a certain amount of money from him. And he thought there was a little bit of price gouging going on. He thought that the price was way too much, this fellow thought. And he said, he started handling, he started negotiating with the driver for a better price, right? Typical is, in Israel, you always negotiate with the driver, right? The number he tells you to begin with is not the number that he's planning on driving you either, right? You negotiate. This guy came to America negotiating. He finally comes up with a number with the driver. All of a sudden, the driver goes ahead and drives right off. Drives right off. Crazy. And the guy goes ahead and he sees this Rav Nuas. He tells him, what's going on here? The guy just drove off afterwards. We went ahead. We had a whole discussion back and forth, and then he just drives off. So Rav Nuas said, that's the way it is in America. Yeah. You could have a big thing. Somebody else will go into the car. He'll drive off the other guy. He's not going to deal with you. If you can make the money off the other guy, he's going to tell you to go fly a kite. But this is a musar skill. We sit down to make Birchat Hamazon. You're sitting there by the table. You finished eating. You sit down to make Birchat Hamazon. And somebody comes to talk to you. And you're in the middle of saying you're in the middle of the Birchon, you're reading through it and you're nodding your head and motioning and talking to the guy as you're reading through it. And by the time you finish Birchat Hamazon, you don't remember what you said, where you said, who you said, when you said, what you did. You don't remember any of it. You lost it all. Well, because what? You went ahead and you're busy dealing with this guy as opposed to dealing with what you're supposed to deal with. The person can lose everything. We have to keep all the mitzvot. Fully. Now tonight is also Pesach Sheini. No other holiday you have a second, do you have a do-over? Do you have a makeup day? No other holiday, right? There's no Sukkot Sheini for somebody who couldn't be there for Sukkot. There's no Shavuot Sheini for somebody who couldn't keep Shavuot. No Yom Kippur Sheini. There's Yom Kippur Katan, but no Yom Kippur Sheini. Some of us might want a Yom Kippur Sheini, but there's no Yom Kippur Sheini. Only one holiday there's a Sheini, Pesach Sheini. Why is there a second Pesach? Which is today, Friday. So the Sefer HaChinuch brings down in Tamei HaMitzvot, because as we mentioned, Pesach time, Pesach, this holiday, shows man his full belief and trust and faith in God, that God controls everything and God runs everything. Because as we said, none of us were there in the creation of the world. But where were we? We all saw Kriyat Yam Suf. Not us, but our grandparents. And the whole world saw Kriyat Yam Suf. And we all saw the might of God. And we all saw that God runs the world. That's why Pesach is so special. Because it shows us our belief and faith in Kodesh Baruch Hu, in God. And therefore God wanted to make sure that every Jew is able to keep this. Every Jew is able to have this effect on himself, as we mentioned to begin with, having that awe-inspiring feeling in yourself. And therefore, a person who couldn't make it to the first Pesach in Yerushalayim for whatever reason, it had to be specific reasons. If it's your fault, you didn't have a Pesach Sheini, you were honest, you were Tamei, whatever it is, then you go ahead and you go for the Pesach Sheini. Because a person needed to have this yesod. A person has to have this foundation within him that God created the world, He runs the world, and everything in this world is His. And that's why there's a second Pesach. So we come out from this Parshat, from Pesach Sheini altogether, is that all of us are supposed to look up to that Kohen. We're supposed to have that role model that we want to strive to be like him in Torah and Mitzvot. Your role model has to be a Jew in Torah and Mitzvot. To want to be like him. And you have to realize that you are a role model for everybody around you. And that all your actions, there's somebody looking at them who's going to copy you. And that you're part of the whole kahal, you're part of that boat. And you can't just dig a hole on the side of the boat because you want to. You can't make everybody sink with you. And to realize that there's a God. God created the world. He runs the world. And every single second of this world is precious. Every single second is a new second. That once it's gone, never comes back again. And the question is, what did you do with that second? What did you do with that minute? And if you're a lazy person, you lost that minute or second. But if you're not lazy and you grab the bull by the horns, every single second of your life, every single minute of your life could be so beautiful, could be special in its own right and its own way. And could really, person could build up an entire otzer, an entire beautiful storehouse of himself, la'atid lavo, in the world to come.